Hi guys, I hope you are doing great today. Welcome to today's broadcast on Power to Change Your World. And we are going to be looking at decision making. Now I want you to look at yourself right now. Look at yourself. Take a proper look. Assess yourself. Assess the quality of your relationship. Assess the quality of your finances. Assess the quality of your well-being. And I want you to know that whatsoever that you find out, whatsoever that you discover is as a result of the decisions that you took yesterday. And what you are going to have, the outcomes you are going to have, in the next 5 years will also depend on the quality of decisions that you are making today. And right now, I want to give us what I consider 4 most important decisions that anyone can take in life. Number 1 is what I call dependency or independency. There are 3 levels of relationships. The number 1 is dependency, followed by independency, and followed by interdependency. As a matter of fact, we all were once dependent on either our parents, our uncles, our siblings. But a time comes that we need to grow up and move into another level of relationship. And that is independency. There are people that instead of growing, they are stuck or fixated in the first level of dependency. They remain there. And that is why, even in their adulthood, they continue to depend on others for their social well-being, for their financial well-being, and for their physical well-being. So people that have dependency syndrome, what psychologists will call dependency syndrome. They keep depending on others for their finances. They keep depending on others for affirmation, for feeling good. And when you are stuck there, it will go a long way to affecting that person's life. So you are going to decide whether to keep being dependent or whether to move to another stage of life. That is what? Independence, where you can begin to grow up and set your own goals, make your own decisions, and take responsibility for your own decisions. And before you move to the highest level, that is called interdependence. As a matter of fact, marriage is supposed to be a perfect example of interdependent relationship, where 2 independent people are coming together to build a relationship. When you find a marriage where one person is independent and another person is dependent, you will find lots of conflicts. So marriage is a perfect example. You must be independent and another person independent, then coming together to build an interdependent relationship. That is the only way, or one of the ways, that marriages can work. So it is going to be your decision. And if you want to know more about this, I'm going to be recommending a book that is called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Number 2 decision is whether to be single or married. It is up to you. As a matter of fact, you can be happy as a single person. You can as well be happy as a married person. So you are going to decide which one are you going to do. And anyone you decide will have consequence. Serious consequence. It is actually very good to be single. When you are single, that is the time to make decisions, to travel around without anyone, trying to know why or what that you are doing. But when you are married, your partner will become accountable to you, that you are going to be accountable, or maybe share your goals, and the 2 persons involved will actually decide whether this goal is good for the family or not. But one thing I have discovered is that being single is beautiful until you are 60. They get to a time that old age will begin to set in. And that time, if you haven't built a valuable relationships, at that time, isolation sets in. You begin to be alone. And having worked in this department for some time now, I discovered that loneliness will begin to set in. and it will trigger depression and other things that follow. So you have to, when you are young, decide the consequences of either to be single or to be married. And when you choose to be married, as a matter of fact, some people prepare for weddings. They have some glamorous wedding, but they actually don't prepare for marriage. Wedding is different from being married. So if you must be married, I usually advise that you read at least 50 books. You know, when I mention this, some people shout, 50, is that not much? Yes, but you actually need to prepare yourself. You need to know that getting married comes with consequences, comes with responsibilities. And if you're not ready to shoulder that responsibility, you might be heading for something that will crash on you. It's like, you know, going to the market, pick for yourself a Rolls Royce, but you don't have a driving license. If you haven't learned how to drive, I can predict your future. That Rolls Royce is going to end your life. You are going to have a crash, a very bad one, that will bring serious injury, if not ending your life. That is how marriage is. If you step into it without preparing, I can predict that you are going to have serious consequences, serious conflict that will end up crashing that marriage. So you have to decide whether to be single or married. And if you want to learn more about this, I will recommend this book, The Power of Love and Marriage by Dr. Myles Monroe. This book is going to bless your life. The third decision that you must make is whether to be rich or poor. As a matter of fact, it is your decision to be poor or rich. Sometimes when this thing is said, some people say, does it mean that all these billions of people that are poor, that they decided it? Most times, the poor always blame people. They blame the government. They blame their uncle. They blame their parents. They blame everyone, you know, for their reason to be poor. But as a matter of fact, it is your decision. Because you can decide today to be poor or to decide to be wealthy. And the behavior of these two persons are not the same thing, you know. So you have to decide which one. And if you are going to be wealthy, your lifestyle will change. You know that the rich people that I have seen, successful people, they take control of what they know and what they do with what they know. They determine their future. They determine practically their outcomes. But the poor continue to do one thing over and over, and they are expecting a miracle. So if you want to become wealthy, you have to take control of what you know. You have to take control of what you know and what you do with what you know. You have to begin to learn new things. You have to assess what you are doing. What are you doing now? Is what I am doing now have the ability to take me to that expected future? Is it going to give me a wealthy retirement? Is it going to make me wealthy in 50, 60 years? So all these things is what you are going to decide. And you are going to move from spending mindset to investing mindset. Because rich people or wealthy people, they invest in what they want. They invest in what is valuable to them. But poor people and less successful people, they live their life they spend their time, they spend their money, and they end up not achieving their desirable outcomes. Then finally, one of the decisions that you must make is whether to believe in God or not. You know, we have what we call atheists, people who don't believe in God. And we also have people who believe in God. It's up to you. And these two groups of people, they have beautiful stories to back up why they are atheists or why they believe in God. So either of them that you choose, you need to know that they all have consequences. And the question I'm going to ask you, what if there is a God? If you say there is no God, what if there is a God? If you end up discovering at the last time of your life that there is a God, maybe when you leave this world, by that time you can no longer change. What if you discover that there is a God and you actually didn't believe in that God anyway? So I think it is safer for you to arise and begin to seek out meaning. If there is a God, and I'm going to be recommending the autobiography of Martin Luther King Jr. You know him. He's a very popular person. Not minding that he died many years ago. But he was a man that was in this fix. He was asking, what is it in life? Is there God or not? But he stood stood up and he began that search. He started from Hindu, from Shintoism, from Islam. At the end of the day, he came up with what he was convinced that God exists and what he decided that made him what he was today, that generations to come will not forget about him. So don't just sit down and say, this is what the knowledge that my father gave me, or this is where I was born into. I was born into Islam, I was born into Hindu, I was born into Catholic, I was born into this, I was born into an atheistic family. Take responsibility for your belief system. Arise and do something about it. Make some search and make that belief yours, because you have researched about it. Because every decision you make today will have a serious effect in your life. If not now, next 5 years, 10 years, or when you will leave this world. And I will say, may you find peace in your decision making. I will see you next week. If you like this, I want you to subscribe to this channel. I want to hear your comments, and I want you to like this video. Thank you, and see you next week.